Hello, and welcome to the True Crime Lounge. If you're new here, hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. Now, you're probably wondering, why am I doing the most famous true crime cases that ever happened in Alabama? Well, for most of you that don't know, I am biased because I live in Alabama. Non-Alabama fan cannot pay me enough to do that. With that being said, we're going to take a short break, then we're going to dive right into it. So, the first case we're going that the first famous homicide that ever happened in Alabama will be Bobby Frank Cherry, the racist bomber. And this happened in May 2002 when Mr. Cherry his, was convicted of 4 counts. That's right, 4. We're going to pretend I just didn't do that. And sentenced to life in prison for his involvement in the 16th Street Baptist church bombing, which 4 African American girls were killed. Cherry was a member of the United Klans of America. Although he has publicly denied his involvement in the bombing, relatives and friends testified that he continuously bragged about being part of the crime. His ex-wife claimed he lit the fuse. Cherry died in prison on November 18, 2004 at the age of 74. Next on our list we have Andrew Lackey, the Halloween killer. And for those of you who don't know, Halloween is my favorite holiday, so this one just intrigues me more and more. So, on Halloween night in 2005 in Athens, Alabama, the home of 80-year-old veteran Charles Newman was broken into by 22-year-old Andrew Lackey. Newman's grandson had told Lackey his grandfather had a vault inside the home that held a lot of cash. Lackey confronted Newman, and as Newman called 911, Lackey began firing shots. So, Newman then grabbed his own gun and shot Lackey. Lackey was stabbed, and then stabbed Newman more than 70 times. As Lackey tried to driving away to the hospital, he had to make a stop. He was eventually arrested and received treatment for his wound. When asked about his shot, he refused to answer, and as authorities searched the car, they found the 38 caliber handgun. As they searched Newman's house, they came across blood that matched Lackey's DNA. Lackey was sentenced to death on April 3rd, 2008, where he was executed in Alabama by lethal injection January 25th, 2013. Next on our list we have the Black Widow, also known as Audrey Marie Hilley. And she was an American murderer who was found guilty of poisoning her husband Frank Hilley with arsenic. And she had also been found poisoning her daughter Carol with a large doses of arsenic after taking out life insurance on her. Hilley was arrested October 9, 1979 for attempted murder on her daughter. And November 9, 1979, she was released on bail and registered at a hotel under the name Emily Stevens. She then escaped and she was listed as a fugitive. Hilly was eventually caught and brought back to Alabama to face trial for her husband's murder and attempted murder on her daughter. She received life in prison for murdering. I forgot where I was, guys. Oh yeah, she received life in prison for murdering her husband, and 20 years for attempting to murder her daughter. In 1983, she began serving her sentence. In 1987, she escaped from prison and was after being given a 3-day pass to visit her new husband. She works fast. And she vanished for 4 days, and she was found crawling in the woods, soaked in the rain. The temperatures had been really low in the 30s, and after being taken to the hospital for hypothermia, Hilly suffered a heart attack and died. Next on our list, we have the Halls murder. And this occurred in, if you guess Birmingham, you're correct. And this has happened in December 1888, and this actually resulted in a lot of media attention. Halls and his wife Emma had a troubled marriage and was employed at Georgia Pacific and often left the family alone while he worked. Emma was an alcoholic and no maid. The oldest daughter was forced to care for her younger sister and brother Irene and Willie. On December 4th, 1888, you want to say 19 for some reason, May's body was found in East Lake. Richard Hawes was the only suspect. As he was taken to jail, he continued to claim his innocence. Emma's bruised and beaten body was soon discovered at Lakeview Park, weighed down with an iron. After drowning in the lake, Irene's body was discovered. The Hawes trial began April 22nd, 1889 at the Jefferson County Courthouse. Hawes was charged with all three murders, but the trial focused on May's murder. On May 3rd of 1889, Hawes received a death penalty, and while he was in jail, he admitted to a guard that he paid John Wiley to commit the murders, and then he decided to intoxicate May and drown her at East Park because he was afraid she'd tell what he did to her mother and younger sister. On February 28, 1890, Hawes was executed. John Wiley was brought to trial for the murders of Emma and Irene, but the case was dismissed due to lack of evidence, and yet it's unclear what happened to younger brother Willie Hawes. Next on our list, we have Eric Rudolph in the abortion clinic in Olympic Bomber. Please do not get political with me in the comments. I'm just telling you everything that I know. On January 29, 1998, Eric Rudolph left a deadly FedEx package at the front door of a new woman, all-women's clinic in Birmingham. Robert Sanderson, a Birmingham police officer who worked off duty at the clinic as a security guard, and Nurse Emily Lyons approached with a package. As Lyons survived the package, as soon as Sanderson touched it, exploded, and with shrapnel ripped through his body, instantly killing him. Lyons survived, but later lost his eyesight and received chronic injuries. 2 years prior to this event, Rudolph had attempted to shut down 1996 Summer Olympics by bombing Atlanta's Centennial Park. The bombing resulted in the death of a spectator and wounded 111 others. After the blast in Birmingham, Rudolph immediately drove to North Carolina, where he hid in the backwoods for 5 years. He was captured in 2003, and on August 24, 2005, he was sentenced to life in prison without parole. 4 consecutive life sentences plus 120 years. Today, Rudolph remains in the ADX Florence Supermax prison in Colorado. Next on our list, we have the crazy professor, also known as Amy Bishop. No, Amy, not the same Amy, but um, Amy Bishop is a biology professor, was a biology professor at UAH, where she was shot and killed 3 faculty members and wounded 3 others on February 12, 2010. How did I not hear about this case? In March of 2009, Bishop was denied tenure, which meant spring 2010 would be her last semester employed at the university. During a faculty meeting, Bishop stood and began shooting those closest to her with a 9mm handgun, execution style. Bishop didn't have a permit to carry the concealed weapon, and she was in total denial of the event. She didn't believe her colleagues were really dead. So the day of the shooting, a student claims she seemed normal. On September 11, 2012, Bishop pleaded guilty on 1 count of capital murder and 3 counts of attempted murder in order to avoid the death penalty. On December 12, 2024, she was sentenced to life without parole. Lastly on our list, we have Betty Wilson, the doctor's wife. Sounds scandalous when you say the doctor's wife. Alright, this happened in May of 1992 when Betty Wilson and her twin sister Peggy Lowe were both arrested and tried for hiring James White to kill Betty's wealthy, well-known husband, Dr. Jack Wilson, an eye surgeon in Huntsville, Alabama. There is no physical evidence connected to either sister of the crime, only a testimony of James White. Peggy was acquitted and Betty was convicted and sentenced to life without parole. The Wilson marriage was trouble for Dr. Wilson's affairs. Dr. Wilson had planned a trip to Santa Fe to help the marriage, but the night before they were leaving for the trip, Betty found that her husband clubbed to death. According to the prosecution, Betty wanted the money, but not her husband. Many witnesses came forward claiming Betty wished her husband was dead. Then, in 2006, she remarried in prison to Bill Campbell, an Army contractor, who became highly obsessed with Betty after seeing her story on TV. Okay on that one. That is it for today's episode on the True Crime Lounge. Which one surprised you? Which one shocked you? What should I talk about next? Um, Tell me any updates on some of these cases that I should know about, or anything in general. I do have a merch shop, so please feel free to check that out and help. Like I said, and a lot of the shirts are going for a good cause, guys. So you can't really. It's really a great opportunity because we're focusing on mental health awareness, sexual abuse survivors, domestic abuse survivors. I'm working online for that as well. So just go and check it out, guys. And I'll see y'all next time.